G'day Space Engineers. Today I want to get stuck into what is a drone, what makes a missile, and how is everything done. Well, it would be very funny that the answer to both of those questions is exactly the same. What makes a drone and what makes a missile? Well, all you need is an actual thrust system, whether it be atmospheric, you got the ion that works in the space, but at the moment I'm using hydrogen, which is what this hydrogen tank is for. At the same time, I've got all the conveyor ports and all that sorts of stuff to connect everything up to allow every single direction, that would be all six, up, down, left, right, forwards, and backwards. Make sure all directions are covered with those thrusters. Otherwise, the AI blocks, if I come on over here, these ones here will not work entirely as they should. The same with the remote control. Both do very similar things, and I'm going to explain everything along the way, as I've got several designs in a survival world, but I am in creative tools, so I don't have to worry about tanks not running out of hydrogen. I want them to actually run out as they would in your survival, as well as the batteries, having them to charge up, which is what all of this is for. Just allowing me to charge up and just fill everything I need. So to sum everything up, you've got all of those thrusters in all six of those directions. You obviously need some power, so a battery or even a hydrogen engine, since this uses H2 or hydrogen itself. You also need a gyro or two, as well as how you connect it with the merge block, which allows you to use a projector to directly print this onto the grid of your base like you see here, as well as a connector like you see to allow the transfer of resources, whether it be ammo in the attack drone that you may have seen those shorts all over YouTube, as they are now available, all available on the workshop and Mod.io, so go ahead and download them and follow along if you please. So those connectors just allow all the transfer of resources, including the hydrogen and any ammo like you see on that attack drone slash missile there. I've got three different designs I've got somewhat laid out here. I've got a very basic missile slash drone that would just work as is if you just added a few more things. For example, the AI blocks or remote control themselves. If we move on to the last design, this is exactly the same as the other two combined, just with armor. So it's the completed design that you yourself would either print into your world or would download. As you can see, this is exactly what you saw in that short itself. It took me a little bit of time to get this all worked out, as well as it being able to fit through one of the standard stock doors of Space Engineers. So that's very important in most of my designs, is the functionality, not specifically on how it looks. So we've got the idea of what a drone is and how it actually works. So other than that, you obviously want to figure out how it will connect onto your base and how you will launch it up. So I've specifically gone on the side of it, not specifically on this missile, but for this one here, as I've got it on the side of the missile, I can actually use the exact same blueprint or projector to project and move the same design and connect it over here. So I can have as many missiles as I want, and I can represent that very quickly by going over here and turning all three of these projectors on very quickly, and you can see very easily that they're all nicely connected, and all the hydrogen, all the battery charge, any Gatling ammo will all be transferred throughout all of that. So I'll just turn those off very quickly and get out of that one. Yes, I'm in creative mode. I know the jetpack is low, that's all right. The sensor is also another thing that is added on this for the fact that I'm using a warhead. So 6 meters from the front of the warhead itself, 6 meters from there is what you want it to be triggered to explode. For the fact that if you just ram this grid into another to get that actual warhead to explode from damaging itself, for example, it's not as effective than manually triggering it to explode 6 meters before hitting the actual target itself. Obviously, because it's going so fast, it has a slight game tick delay in when it will actually trigger. So whether it helps you out or whether it doesn't, whether it explodes on the outside of hitting the drone or target itself, or pierces through and may even explode on the inside, causing more damage. Whichever you choose, go and do some tests with that, but that's why I have the sensor here. So if I go into this, let's get stuck into the AI functions of the drone itself. So what this needs, it needs an AI move and an AI offensive. So the AI move block is oriented so it is facing in that direction of my character. So the nose of this drone slash missile is right here. I'm on the left side of this drone. That is the bottom, that is the top, and behind me is the rear of the drone. I hope you're following with me so far. I'll get out an AI block for you very quickly and I can show exactly what it is. So you see how it's got the L on the side? That represents the... So if I were to have it in this orientation, so let's just plonk that on right there, the drone now thinks you want it to fly in the character's orientation as I sit here. That's not what we want. I want it to have the nose being the nose and actually run into it. How you orientate this specific move block will depend on how the missile and your design flies in which direction, etc. On the other hand, the AI offensive and a few other blocks that we'll get to does not matter which orientation it is. As you can see, it has no left, has no right, has no front, back, or anything like that on the block itself, so it does not matter. I've also got some timer blocks as well as a hidden event controller, there it is, which is specifically looking at how much hydrogen I have in this tank. So when you print it up, it starts with 0 hydrogen in the tank, obviously. It pulls from the base, and once it gets to 100%, that specific event controller here that we were looking at just then will turn its trigger or its launch timer on for you to actually enable you to launch it. If it does not have any more than 100% hydrogen, this block will be off, and no matter what you do, it will not do anything. So let's turn that back on as it is. The base is completely fine. It's just looking at the missile or the drone's connector itself, and when this block here is ready to connect, it will then lock onto the base itself. So it just saves you a little bit of time from having to have a automatic lock on your base, as the missile will do that itself, as long as your merge block is obviously on, which it wouldn't show the projector or the blueprint to print it up if this merge block was not on to begin with. So that's how that all works. So what this all does, to sum it up, is once it's all ready, it's got its hydrogen, everything's all ready to go. The battery spawns in when printed with about 25 to 30% charge, and that is way more than you need. Way more than you need. So when you first trigger this missile, you will be launching and triggering this timer. And what is it going to do? It turns the stockpile off on its hydrogen tank to make sure that it has access to that hydrogen, as when the stockpile is on, it will pull hydrogen from your base to fill the drone or the missile up much faster with that stockpile being on. So first of all, when we want to launch it, it needs access to the hydrogen. We turn that stockpile off. We turn the connector on the missile off, as well as the merge block itself. So that disconnects it from your base. It gets it ready for the hydrogen, and it will start the next timer I will get to in just a second. It will also enable the bottom thruster specifically separated from the group of the rest of them to have it overridden to launch up directly. Then it will also have the rest of the thrusters also be turned on at the same time. I'll show you why these are separated in just a second, with having this override bottom one having its thrust override completely all the way up, so it will separate itself, launch up as far as it can away from your base, clearing it, etc. This timer is the one that the launch timer starts, and after 2 seconds from launching this missile slash drone, it will turn on its AI functions, the blocks themselves of both of those AI blocks, the AI move and the AI offensive. I find it works much better having any and all AI blocks off if they are not needed in that time. Once you launch it up, after a couple seconds, it will turn them all on. It will then have that kind of script running in the background with Space Engineers to then do its function itself. In this case, to seek out an enemy or a target and ram itself into it. At the same time, it will start itself again because it has a decreased thrust override. I just find it works a little better in a few of my designs in terms of saving a bit of fuel if it were to have a longer launch time to clear away from your base, if that makes sense. So it'll also arm the warhead, as you don't want the warhead armed anywhere near your base or have any chance of exploding and damaging you, your player, or your base. So we'll arm that when it's ready to launch at the enemy. At the same time, we'll have the sensor that triggers and detonates that warhead to also turn on, looking for any enemies that get within its radius that it is set to. So, with that being said, that is pretty much all it is, and let's copy this design that you will specifically get yourself, and I'm going to go a little bit further away and set something up very quick. Alright, so now I've just flown away from the rest of the survival base, as one of the designs behind that you saw before will actually automatically trigger its launch function, which I will show you eventually. So let's just test out exactly what I've shown you. So when we press the button right here, that button is going to trigger this timer that's going to do everything I've said. Disconnect itself, turn the thrusters on, start an extra timer, turn the stockpile off, and that's going to launch up for 2 seconds. After 2 seconds, this timer here will trigger, telling it to then search for the enemy, continuously start and trigger itself to lower the overridden thruster's thrust override on it, to allow just a bit of fuel saving in case this is a bit longer than 2 seconds, as well as arming the warhead and turning its respective sensor to detonate that warhead. That block turns on just there. So let's do that. Let's get a quick enemy cargo drone anywhere we want. Since there's about good, let's go into it and turn it all into an enemy. Space Pirates, excellent. Let's go on over here. We'll lock onto the grid, Control Z, so we follow it, and then launch it up. 1, 2. Turns on the AI blocks, found the enemy instantly. And you see, it actually blew up just before hitting that enemy using that sensor. So we'll do that very quickly one more time, using the exact design you have available on the Steam Workshop itself. This one right here. So let's just plonk this right about there. It's all ready and waiting for you. Let's get another cargo drone out. In a good gravity orientation and help, so it doesn't just instantly fall out of the sky. Change that to an enemy. Press the button. No, not that one. The pencil missile. If I can spell, there we go. So I've got one on the HIMARS missile truck. That's what that one is. Where are we? There we go. Let's plonk that right there, and let's do the exact same thing and just press that button. Oh, it may have that launch timer is off. Okay, let's do that again. Let's launch it up. 2 seconds, turns on the AI blocks, finds the enemy, and rams into it nice and easy. Perfect. Let's get on to the next design, the attack missile slash drone that I just kind of glimpsed there by accident. Let's clear this up and I'll get over there. There we go. So now we're back. We've explained the basics of a hydrogen thrusted missile slash drone, since they both need the exact same things, just slightly different programming, which I will now explain to you. I hope you're really thinking on this one, as there is a lot to do on this. Once again, we've got a hydrogen powered drone slash missile. Ignore the build and repairs. And now we have 3 AI blocks. We've got that original AI flight. We have the AI offensive 1 to ram, and another one that allows it to shoot the enemy before it rams it. So I'll just sum it up a little bit better and start from scratch on this one, shall we? Let's go on down here. Same thing as always. We've got the tank, we've got the thrusters. Don't forget the gyros wherever they are. There it is. But this time we obviously have those Gatling turrets, because I want this to be an attack drone, and when it runs out of either ammo or hydrogen itself, whichever comes first, I want it to then ram itself into the enemy that it's targeting with its hidden warhead right there. So, since we've explained what the basics of this drone has, let's get on to the brains of the operation. So once again, all of these two here, obviously doesn't quite matter with its AI offensive orientation or operation itself. It's just the AI flight move block that we have to worry about. Once again, the nose is exactly in the same orientation that my player is in right now. So now that we've got the basics out of the way, let's get into it further. When you first build this drone up, it first looks at the connect. So we want it to connect onto your base, lock everything up, but at the same time, this has also got a second connector onto it, which will be either the base's one, as well as the one that you can connect onto it that we saw on my basic printer right there. Okay, so once you've filled up your hydrogen, the ammo is full, everything's ready to go, you've got your launch timer on, enabling you to trigger this. What is it going to do when you want it to launch and you trigger this timer with the button on front of it? Let's go to the front of it. It's going to disconnect both connectors and both merge blocks right here on the front and right here on the back, that one there and that one there. It will also, let me get into the same block. It will also turn the stockpile off on the both tanks this drone has instead of the one. It's going to start the next attack timer and turn on all of the thrusters, including the bottom overridden one, to enable it to clear away from your base. But something a little different is done here, for the fact that we have this design with its ability to print multiple designs on top of one another, like I showed you at the start of this episode. What that is allowing me to do, since they are not all grouped up together in one bunch like the previous pencil missile, they are each laid out individually, that this timer is going to look specifically at this grid's thrusters and nothing else that would be spread out using grids, using group names over the same design. I hope that makes sense. So at the same time, it does the same connector disconnect and that merge block. So after 7 seconds, instead of 2 seconds like the previous, it will then turn on its move block and its AI function. But this time it will only turn on the AI function and the block of the combat drone AI turret itself. So this turret drone here, that is on the stay at range closest target priority, within 650 and 700 meters, within that range from the enemy it's targeting. I've chosen that specifically for the fact that using the lower recoil of these Gatling turrets instead of something larger caliber, it is a lot more effective and a lot more accurate over longer distances and that is allowing me to get it to go a little further away with this stay at range than it normally would. Obviously, I've selected the 3 turrets that it has on the front of it, and once it actually either runs out of hydrogen below 5% or below 1% of its ammo within the drone itself, either shooting it, flying around, whatever it may be, it will then do a few things. So once either of them happens, both of them have the same functions I'm about to show you. It's going to turn off the turret drone's offensive AI. That stops it from trying to shoot the enemy and trying to stay at range, as well as the AI function. So it turns the block off and its AI function. It will then turn on the block itself and the AI function of the offensive RAM AI block, as well as turning on that sensor that we explained in the pencil missile. 6 meters in front directly of that warhead will cause more explosive damage with that warhead, as well as arming it. It will then start a full speed timer block, which I'll explain in just a second, that does the exact same thing as decreasing, or in this case increasing, the speed limit on the AI flight itself. It just kind of makes a little bit more sense as it is currently set at 30 meters. If we go into the RAM, for the fact that it's a little bit more stable with a 30-meter speed limit, 150 meters above the surface of the planet, to then ram into that shoot the enemy before ramming into it. So this one just uses the intercept pattern, target prediction. It doesn't really matter basic or target prediction, it just does it nice and easy. So once the ammo runs out, the hydrogen runs out, either one comes first, it then tries to ram into a GGEZ. So let's give an example of what that does using all of its ammo and all of its stuff right here. So let's copy that and let's go over there again. Here we go. I've just pasted the same thing down, the same design as you have. Let's get an enemy spawned in nice and quickly. Let's get that the correct way, and let's see if the AI function I have on this drone, let's get a terminal, there we go. Change it all over to the Space Pirates. Get into this drone here very quickly, and I'm pretty sure this may or may not have an auto trigger. No, this event controller is specifically going to be tied into the, I'll just show you very quickly, the mini attack drone missile printer that is also available on the workshop. So let's just delete that before it automatically triggers, as I'll get to that in just a second. We've got that enemy all ready and waiting. Let's trigger this up. Let's press the button, Control Z so we follow it. 7 seconds later, it'll turn the AI functions on to then target the enemy just below us now. It's then found the enemy, and it is now going to target it. Let's get this on. There we go. Then shoots it. Absolutely fantastic right there. Let's just speed the process up, and let's just get a little bit of this so it will then run out. There we go. So just say it dumped all its ammo at the enemy, or its hydrogen ran out. It's now going to try and ram itself into the enemy nice and easy. Perfect. Just like so. So how did I get it to tie in with the enemies themselves? So let's go over here and let's spawn in an enemy itself. So let's get this right here once more, within 1.5 kilometers of the grid again. Let's turn it over to Space Pirates. I've deleted all weapons on the grid itself over there, and we should be able to come over here and wait either 5 to 10 seconds, as I have to turn that AI on the base, looking at enemies around, on and off itself, specifically so it will allow me to continuously search for enemies, because once it sees an enemy, it won't re-trigger unless you fix it. So there it goes up, as you saw in the short. Let's just follow onto it. A few other things are shooting at it, but that's fine. And hi silver, no problem. So let's just delete this out of the way. Come on back down again, as the other one should technically have triggered also. Let's just get into... Oh, wrong side. Here we go. And it has already printed itself up as well. So where is it? Over there. I'll just see if I can delete it. Just clear up the world. Excellent. So how did we get all of that to trigger automatically without any interaction from our player or any other thing entirely? We're looking at everything that's white for the fact that that is the printer grid itself, and anything in orange will be the drone or missile. So how does this automatically trigger when it sees an enemy? So this AI offensive is looking for any enemies within 2.5 kilometers and using an event controller that's going to trigger itself if an enemy gets within 2 kilometers using that AI offensive block. If an enemy gets within 2 kilometers or 2,000 meters, I want it to start this auto missile launch timer, or this one right here. It's going to start this timer that's going to open the door, start an auto drone trigger group, which is on the drone/missile, as well as the printer itself. I've duplicated the group name for the fact that it will tie in better with its programming without any interaction of yourself. That's pretty much how it almost allows you to get this re-triggerable without any interaction from yourself whatsoever. At the same time, since it just launched that timer and launched the missile itself, it's going to turn the projector, the welders on, turn the AI offensive on the printer itself off to reset it, as well as starting a base connect reset timer that will allow it to turn the base's merge block back on, as well as the base's connector. It will then start another timer block, the main start timer. So let's just get into a few things. Let's get the reset out of the way, which turns the enemy found event controller on and off, which will allow you to have it re-triggered. This is the big thing. Once an event controller triggers in one operation, it will not re-trigger itself until the B operation triggers first. So how did I get around doing that? By turning the block or the event controller itself on and off every few seconds, resetting it completely. As you can see, the light is green, but if I have an enemy and it triggers itself, the light will turn blue, stopping it from triggering itself and launching another missile. So with it turning itself off and then back on again, the light turns green, allowing it to then launch another missile after a certain set time. And this just resets and starts the same exact timer that we're in this one here. At the same time, it will then do that base connect reset, close the door, turn itself, or turn the base's merge block on, as well as the small connector on the base itself. It's just a reset, does it constantly, just allowing a missile to be printed at all times. So the main one here is the main start and will not allow you to launch another missile until minute 30 has done, just allowing it to fill up the hydrogen, getting some ammo, getting the drone or the missile itself ready and waiting to have everything it needs to actually perform its job. So it turns the AI offensive block back on, as well as the AI behavior. It then starts the reset to make sure it then can connect back onto a new missile, as well as having the event controller on the base that just looks at the battery. Ignore this one, that's just for me entirely. So that is pretty much exactly how that kind of works out, and I hope I explained it, but I will not get onto the last one I was going to, the HIMARS missile, as this is my pride and joy. This is completely vanilla, 100%, no mods, no scripts, no DLCs. Download it yourself right now. Even if you think you're an advanced drone player or an advanced space engineers, I challenge anyone to check this out and explain to me how it all works. I'd explain it but then I'd be talking your ear off for hours. It uses an overridden gyro for its pitch, another one for spin because it has a cluster function. It has a separatable decoys using some ammo to shoot the conveyors, parachutes to actually distract any enemies that you can then crawl up onto the enemy itself, and why not just launch it up right here. Let's just launch that up and get on going. So this uses an overridden gyro that will tilt its nose continuously down as it needs to be at least 5 kilometers away from the enemy. It is a 5 kilometer HIMARS missile that also ties in with my truck itself that is also available on the workshop and mod.io. Make sure you go and check it out. It is absolutely mind-blowingly difficult on how I got the truck's rear end to work out with its retractable missiles. There we go. We just saw the separatable decoys, which will the parachutes will poke out in just a second. We'll see that on the way through. It is my pride and joy. It is the most difficult thing I think anyone in Space Engineers has come up with without using mods, DLCs or scripts, and not having any armor in mind or aesthetics, as I have functionality over aesthetics any day. But now, since this is so complex, I'm more leaning along the lines of simplicity may be key. And no, this was not aimed. That's what that camera here is for, whatsoever, at the enemy. So let's just get rid of all this. Within a certain distance of the enemy, it will trigger an overridden gyro to start spinning on the spot. Turn on those turrets to then separate everything in front of it, just like so. If there's anything that has survived like that, it will then try and fly away from it, as using the same aspect as the attack drone / missile. It will then try and use those Gatling turrets and any remaining ammo to actually then try and attack the enemy itself. So let's just fly on back to here and explain the printer very, very quickly on how this will all work. So since it's all connected, let's turn 1, 2, 3 on. We've got all 3 of these. I do still need resources, so I've got the infinite component generator as well as an O2H2 generator. I'm still in survival. It still needs all that. Let's turn the printer welders on. It will then build it all up. You see all the connectors, all the merge blocks, they're all locked up, they're all connected. All of the hydrogen tanks will now be filling, if I can find one. There we go. So that's at 70%, 75%, 90%, and this one is now full. So the launch up, it's not meant to automatically launch, but that's perfectly fine. Nice and easy, probably because it found, because it sees an enemy. So let's get a good test going on, and let's get a good test. I didn't turn the thing off. Where's the enemy? Has it destroyed the enemy already? Yeah, it has. The enemy's over there. Wow, that was really disappointing. Really disappointing how fast that kind of destroyed it. And you can see the parachutes are in the distance there. Yeah, this episode's been somewhat all over the shop. I do apologize for that, but it's been a really hectic end of the year. So I'm sorry, it is what it is. It's been a while since I've recorded last. And yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know on a drone. All of these designs are obviously available for you to download and check out yourself, and even follow along in this tutorial. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you comment below for that giveaway for the 10th anniversary Space Engineer plushie. Make sure you stay sharp. Till next time, as always, see ya.